You just spent the entire day outside shooting a beautiful girl running towards these amazing rays of sunshine, and you're already picturing yourself how you're going to be directing the sequel of The Notebook. But instead of Ryan Gosling, it's you who gets the girl. Only for you to come back at your desk, sit down, and find out that all your footage looks like this.
No, God!
And all of this happened because you decided not to get an ND filter. Well, today I'm here to explain it to you like you're 5. And if you're 5 and you're watching this video, kudos to you. You'll have a 25-year head start on your videography competition, so let's dive right in. There are dozens of ND filters out there with loads of names, combinations, numbers, and whatnot. Variable ones, fixed ones, ND4 ones, 0 point whatever ones, 2000 ones, and
Counts with compounding interest and it's gone.
you're lost. Okay, let me GPS you back on the right track. So, ND filters are in fact sunglasses for your lens. However, the way that they work is a bit more complex. They're designed to decrease in stops of light. So what is a stop of light? Well, an increase of 1 stop of light means you're doubling the amount of light that you had up until that point. And a decrease of 1 stop of light, logically, means that you allow only half of the amount of light to come in. Okay, now how do I control all that? Well, let's say that you don't have an ND filter. Then you would use the combination of your ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. A decrease of 1 stop of light would mean putting your shutter speed from 1/50 to 1/100, meaning you allow half the amount of light that you had before. If you did have an ND filter and you decreased 1 stop of light, that would be the equivalent of putting your shutter speed from 1/50 to 1/100. Same goes for the ISO. For example, going from ISO 400 to 200, half the amount of light. Aperture is a bit more complicated, but here's a table to remember it better. 1.4 to f2.0, f2.0 to f2.8, and so on and so on. Each step is 1 stop. Yeah, great. Now, how do I decide which one do I buy? Well, first of all, if you're shooting video, you have to look at variable ND filters. Now, they come with some downsides that I'll get to later, but you will need the versatility that they bring. Now, let's try and understand the names and the numbers.
Speak 3 names, and the man will do the rest.
Okay, so variable ND filter names are expressed in 3 different ways. Either in stops, which you already know by now, if not, rewind the video, or you see ND2, ND4, ND6, ND8, etc., etc. Sometimes even ND400, ND2000. Or if you see common numbers like 0.3, 0.6, it's the density. ND2 means 1 stop, ND4 means 2 stops, ND8 means 3 stops, and so on and so on. So when it's expressed in ND, each time you want to calculate the amount of stops, you gotta do 2 to the power of. So whenever you see an ND filter that says ND2000, no, it won't block out the sun from Mother Earth. Well, technically it could, I guess. But it just means 11 stops. Because if you multiply 2 by itself 11 times, you get 2048, and all these manufacturers just round up the numbers. So let's put this to the test. As you can see, this is way too bright. So I'm using my zebras to see that everything is way too overexposed, and you can see it in the histogram here as well. What we want to do right now is, for example, either change our shutter speed, ISO, or our aperture. I'm gonna play around with the aperture. So at f16, this would be properly exposed. Maybe we could even go to f14 and fix that little part in post. And this is where your ND filter comes into play. So instead of having to fix your aperture or your shutter, you can just change the amount of light your ND filter is allowing in. And there you have it. All I did was turn the ND filter. Now I already hear the questions being asked. What if I don't have the exact stop that I need in my ND filter? Well, that's where the combination of aperture, shutter speed, and ISO comes in. You can combine these alongside your ND filter to create combinations of stops of light that you need particularly for your scene. And that 180-degree shutter rule, it's overrated anyway. But that's for another video. Now I did say, however, that there are some downsides to these variable ND filters, and there are. First one being, there is an absolutely disgusting black cross that gets caused whenever you try to use them at their highest density. It can completely ruin your footage. Or some of them cause vignetting, which are dark spots on the edges of your footage, or color casting, which causes an annoying tint, sometimes green, sometimes blue, on top of your entire footage that you have to color out in post. But luckily for you guys, I'm gonna give you easy fixes for this. Best piece of advice I can give you is do not cheap out on your ND filters. The more expensive you go, the less of these issues you'll encounter.
Shut up and take my money!
Number 2, buy a filter that is bigger than all your lenses and get step-up rings. Since the ND filter is bigger than your lens and much further removed, it's less likely to form a black cross or any vignetting that's coming from the outside as you're increasing your stops. If you're working on a much bigger production that's in a fully controlled lighting environment, then it's even better to get fixed ND filters. You can swap them out or combine them to whatever stop that you need. The only downside is it takes a bit longer, but the upside is you don't have any of the other downsides. So if you like this video and you finally understand what ND filters actually are and how they're actually used, press that thumbs up button, like this video, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Put a comment down below if these tips helped you and what the next video is that you want to see. As always, see you in the next one.